Right. So next, I want to give you some idea, different type of data stores. Let me introduce like this. You like early days we store data in file systems, right? So even nowadays we store some data in files, Excel files, Word files, text files, like that. So if you compare file systems and the databases, what are the security concerns you have? Anything? So why we want to store data in the database servers? Why not storing things in file systems? Any idea? So you can think having data in Excel sheet compared to having data in a database server, Oracle or IBM DB2 or MS SQL server or MySQL. So what is the difference? Security point of view, can someone tell me something coming to your head?
The ease of access, how easily one file systems may be accessed compared to DBMSs.
Accessing, yeah, so accessing data is easy in a file system or DBMS?
It's quite easy with file systems, which means that it could easily be accessed by anyone, including hackers.
Yes, then it's like no security, right? So if someone
Exactly.
opens the file, so can see everything in that file, right? So if you want to set some security, what kind of security you can set with the file? You can set,
You can set a password.
yeah, you can set the
You
password.
can
Yeah,
password
great.
protect it.
Yeah, you can set password. That's a good idea. In addition to that, file point of view, you can set read,
You can,
write, execute permission, right? So that file you can enable to read data, can't modify, or you can enable read and write both, but can't execute that file. Execute in the sense something like, say you are writing a computer program. So after you write computer program, you want to execute that program, then only that do the job, right? Otherwise it just there. So we take three permission levels for file: read permission, write permission, and execute permission. So say you are writing a very simple Python program, or say very simple C program, C, C programming, or whatever, Java or something you have written. So say file doesn't have execute permission. So then maybe you have written the code, but you can't run it to see what is the program output. So that's execute permission. So write permission means you have permission to modify this file. Read permission means you have permission to see the content of the file. Say you don't have read permission, that means you can't do anything with that, right? It's like that. So we have read, write, execute permission for file. In addition to that, as one of them mentioned, so you can set uh, password. So that kind of security things we can do, but we can't do any other thing, like if after open the file, it's open to everyone, right? So by mistake, maybe someone while browsing, going through the data, someone maybe by mistake delete something, right? Say press escape bar, something lost. So can happen such thing, right? But if you use database servers, so it's like not like that. It's a well-defined system, so you can't damage into your data like that. So you can, like, for each and every object, so say we have set of tables, so you can decide, okay, this table I want to give access to some person. Say person A wants should be able to read the content of this file. Person B can modify. uh, Person C can even delete the things here. So person maybe let's say D, he can not only just read, write, delete things, so he can grant permission to someone else. So that's another thing, right? So he, like, I am giving permission to D. D is granting permission to say X person. So actually, I didn't give permission to X. So who has done it? D has given permission to X. So if D grant permission, then X can give permission to Y, right? So like then maybe going like a chain. Don't know. Sometimes maybe it's a good thing. Sometimes it may be really bad thing because uh, owner of this table maybe at the end don't know who is accessing this table, right? In some situations, maybe we want to enable such thing. Some situations, it may not be good thing. So point I'm trying to show you here, like with DBMSs, so we can do a lot of things compared to file system. So we get more control over there, right? Okay. Uh, Next, different types of database servers there. That's also important to know when you work with database server. So we want to set security related things in the database server. Then you want to know, first of all, what kind of a database server these people are talking about, right? So when you go to some company and trying to set security, so you want to check whether this is a relational database, whether this is object relational database. It may be sometimes XML store, sometimes that may be NoSQL store. So NoSQL stores different type of NoSQL stores, key value, column, graph, document. Like it, I mean, I have not listed everything here. So you want to know there may be so many different type of database servers. So then accordingly, we may have to look into security concerns. So obviously, in some case, you may have to take the support of the database experts also because you can't master all the database related things, right? So that's another area, but you want to know these different type of database systems are there. So relational is very common. That's what we are talking about here. So using tables, you can model all the data requirement. So then one way of handling such database. Object relational means maybe you heard about object-oriented concepts, object-oriented programming. We see everything like objects, so then inheritance and all. Have you heard about this object-oriented programming? So if not, no, don't worry. So when we do programming, when we write software, so there are different ways of writing software. So we can do structured programming or object-oriented programming. So then object-oriented concepts we can take into the database level even. So then we call it object relational because they have object-oriented concepts plus relational concepts. Then we call it object relational databases. All right. So sometimes maybe you may get a chance to set up security for XML store. It's like this. So that's a different data model. Now, relational model, they have flat tables, just tabular structures. Object relational, so they want to see everything like objects, right? Person object, student object, chair object, vehicle object, so everything objects for them, right? Then XML is a hierarchical structure. So they want to see data, it's like a hierarchy. So everything they want to organize like hierarchy. So as if I take as example, student. So student has maybe like if I take a student, so there may be so many students. If I take one student, then I want to have a student ID, student name, age, like that. So then when I take address of the student, so that may be having different component, number, city, address, postal code, like different. So then by doing that like that, so we can form a hierarchy, right? So tree structure. So then such data models we call XML, right? The other thing is NoSQL databases. In NoSQL databases, the different type of NoSQL databases are there. So if you want to manage, mainly we are going for NoSQL if data is not structured. Not structured means very simple. So what they say, like if you can take data into tabular structure, so then we say data is structured. So we know every record. So we get only, okay, let's say as example, student number, student name, address. So every record we get only these three values. So then data is structured. Everyone well defined, right? So structured data you can easily manage with this relational model. If structure is not defined, or semi partially defined. So then we can't store in relational. Then we have to go for NoSQL databases. So different type of NoSQL databases available. Maybe nowadays you heard about this term big data. Have you heard about this term big data? Anyone of you heard about big data?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but
So
I don't know the meaning though.
yeah, so that's a buzzword actually, just buzzword. So what is big data means actually? Uh, so it's simply NoSQL database. So some people say uh, uh, huge data set. We say big data, not really. So big data means NoSQL databases. So it's not a structured data. It may be unstructured or semi-structured data. So then there are different type of big data bases. So it may be key value, it may be column, it may be graph, it may be document. So whether you want to have a document store, or maybe you want to have graph, like say various graph you want to have in your database, right? So that kind of thing, or else maybe network kind of information you want to store, right? So uh, then like we have different type of NoSQL databases using for various purpose. So this is not the right time to talk about differences of these all, because our aim is different. We want to talk about security point of view. So therefore I don't go into detail, but you want to know the database people are working on these different type of things, right? So just there's someone, when you talk with someone, say, okay, we are working with NoSQL database, then you want to have idea like, okay, they are handling some data sets that doesn't have a clear structure, right? So maybe they have student details. So then student different properties. Not all, everyone is student number, student name, address. So someone may be student number, student name, address. Next person may be student number, student name, maybe phone number, not no address. So next person maybe don't have phone number or address. Next person has email address. So then person to person, data is different, right? So then such situations we should look into NoSQL. I guess you got some idea, right? So that's enough. So I just want to tell you, like, this database field, it's a vast area. They are managing different type of data sources. So then when we look at security things, so then we want to have an idea, yeah, what they are handling first. That's important. So then accordingly we want to set various security settings, right? I guess you got some idea about different type of databases, and if we move forward with file system, what limitations they have, and so on. Importance of having good security mechanisms we want to discuss for the databases, right? Any one of you wants to raise any questions related to things we did so far, or any idea or any concern? That's really nice if you talk